Howdy, y'all. This is Proverbs 8 in the HCSB for July 8th, 2023. Doesn't wisdom call out? Doesn't understanding make her voice heard? At the heights overlooking the road, at the crossroads, she takes her stand. Beside the gates at the entry to the city, at the main entrance, she cries out, "People, I call out to you. My cry is to mankind. Learn to be shrewd, you who are inexperienced. Develop common sense, you who are foolish. Listen, for I speak of noble things of which my lips say is right. For my mouth tells truth, and wickedness is detestable to my lips. All the words of my mouth are righteous, none of them are deceptive or perverse. All of them are clear to the perceptive and right to those who discover knowledge. Accept my instruction instead of silver, and knowledge rather than pure gold. For wisdom is better than jewels, and nothing desirable can compare with it. I, wisdom, share home with shrewdness, and have knowledge and discretion. To fear the Lord is to hate evil. I hate arrogant pride, evil conduct, and perverse speech. I possess good advice and competence. I have understanding and strength. It is by me that kings reign and rulers enact just law. By me princes lead as do nobles and all righteous judges. I love those who love me, and those who search for me find me. With me are riches and honor, lasting wealth and righteousness. My fruit is better than solid gold, and my harvest than pure silver. I walk in the way of righteousness along the paths of justice, giving wealth as an inheritance to those who love me and filling their treasuries. The Lord made me at the beginning of his creation, before his works of long ago. I was formed before ancient times, from the beginning, before the earth began. I was born when there were no watery depths and no springs filled with water. I was delivered before the mountains and the hills were established. Before he made the land, the fields, or the first soil on the earth, I was there when he established the heavens, when he laid out the horizon on the surface of the ocean, when he placed on the skies above, and when the fountains of the ocean gushed out, when he set a limit for the sea so that the waters would not violate his command, when he laid out the foundations of the earth. I was a skilled craftsman beside him. I was his delight every day. I was always rejoicing before him. I was rejoicing in his inhabited world and delighting in the human race. And now, my sons, listen to me. Those who keep my ways are happy. Listen to instruction and be wise. Don't ignore it. Anyone who listens to me is happy, watching at my doors every day, waiting by the post of my doorway. For the one who finds me finds life and obtains favor from the Lord. But the one who misses me harms himself. All who hate me love death. Sorry about the fireworks. They have a nice party behind me, I suppose. And just wanted to do this in the last of the daylight because I know YouTube certainly promotes it differently when it seems to be the right palette, right lighting. So it makes me wonder, if I got a ring light or something, which that's not what I want to be seen doing, is like talking to a lit light, in my car, especially at night. But it is what it is. I've committed to this. We're in month 7. So I don't know that I have to finish a year, but at this point I feel like, yeah, I should at least round a year out on this, right? And whatever it takes to keep getting a little better every day. So there's some verbiage in here, and it goes with my theory of like wisdom in the spirit. But then we got to look at this in a parallel Bible. Where is it? And y'all know, if you've listened to this, like, I love when wisdom speaks. It's always like, hello, idiots, listen to reason, listen to me. And just trying to tell people, like, I got the secrets to life. You can have them. And by the way to death is any other way, But here, where is it? The Lord made me at the beginning of his creation, before his works of long ago. I don't know if there's, depending on the way that it's written in the Hebrew, I don't know that there's a way around that, as far as me wanting to believe that wisdom and the Spirit are the same, because like it's a creation problem, right? As far as like all three persons of the triune God always were. But then the way that this document is written, it could be like, this is the way of understanding of like, in the same way that we see, it's not a Christophany, and I keep losing the word for it. Somebody help me that's, got all the fancy words it takes to be a Christian. But when Jesus shows up in the Old Testament as a person, and he wasn't known by Jesus at that point, right? He was like the captain of the Lord's host and things like that. So in the same way of just like writing about it, could this be a way of showing that wisdom existed with God before everything we know? In the way that, Genesis 1:1 is, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, which is ancient Jewish for everything that is, the universe and the sum of everything, spiritual realm, physical realm, everything that is, the heavens and the earth. At the beginning of his creation, before his works of long ago, and this is part of like the way that Genesis 1 is translated. There's like 10 other words that are missing when you look at like the literal Hebrew and the signifier words. And it's Genesis 1 is talking about like when God started creating. Like, I always joke about, like, I do believe in the Big Bang Theory, right? Because atheists and physicists like to say, like, give us one miracle and we'll give you everything else, in science from there, the Big Bang. And I tell them, like, I'll give you that miracle because I believe in the same miracle, God said, let there be light, and bang, it happened. And what happens in the Big Bang Theory? Like, light collapses into matter. So, whatever on that one. It's always the initial argument of, like, what caused it, where to come from. So I try to help people understand what it would be like to be outside of our 3D and 4D space, with time. Let's not get into that. That's omnipresence and omniscience and all those things too. So, but here, let's see, it says, the Lord made me at the beginning of his creation, before his works of long ago. Before ancient times, from the beginning, before the earth began, I was born, when there were no watery depths and no springs filled with water. But there are 2 footnotes here. So this is definitely like between, at the very least, this is between 1 and 2. Genesis 1:1 and Genesis 1:2. Because it's saying, like, before the oceans were set and before the depths were set and the seas and things like that, wisdom was. And wisdom was with God, right? Okay. But then up here it says at the beginning of creation. So let's look at my little footnotes. 22D and E. Also, instead of created, it says or possessed or begot. If Jesus is his only begotten son, then wisdom was begot by the Lord before everything. Okay, and what's the other one says? Literal way in 22. The Lord possessed me at the beginning of his way, before his works of long ago. The Lord begot me at the beginning of his way. The Lord made me at the beginning of his creation. The Lord possessed me at the beginning of his creation. The Lord begot me at the beginning of his creation. The Lord made me at the beginning of his way. his way in this universe. His way is in the story. Need more. Somebody put out a verse the other day, and like my comment was, I guess I have to, I guess I got to learn Hebrew now. But that's kind of been on my heart. I learned Latin in school, high school, and college, and now that rattles around in there somewhere, and I remember tiny bits, but use it or lose it. I got to teach my kids Latin though, so we're going to work on that. And I've really wanted to learn Greek since that time, because I always did love all the Greek mythology. Sorry. But, to be able to read the actual writings for myself. And I think that'll be a long way off for me, not just reading it, but having some of the cultural context and understanding. And that's what I was trying to explain to my son, is we stand on the shoulders of giants in science. We stand on the shoulders of giants. So all these people that dedicated their life, to reading this book and reading parts of this book and studying the language and studying the archaeology and studying the context and the cultural history and all this, and then read things and then give us a book, these are valid. We should be reading all these things to expand our understanding. So I'm going to dig into this one. This is why I think we're going to go 5 more months for other translations. And what I really want to start doing is using a parallel translation. But I also don't want to jump the gun. I'm enjoying going piece by piece and translation. I realize, so this is the HCSB. I think there was one in the L's. And then I have a New England Oxford Annotated Bible. So I would be interested in possibly reading out of that. And then in month 12, really digging into the parallel. But I also don't want to wait 5 months to do that. So I'm going to try to figure this out and hopefully bring more value. I would like to be pulling out some of this into shorts. Shorts are fun. I like doing them. They're kind of a diminishing return, but it's also more people are getting an impact from me. So I'd like to take these verses, these chapters, some of this commentary, and bring it into a short. I got to get my life organized. Let's just leave it at that. But this is, so talking this out, maybe I didn't talk myself out of it. When I first read this, made me at the beginning of his creation, it's like, oh man, the Lord made this thing. But on reading this and reading it with the footnotes and the other translations and the literal, no, I kind of think I'm still hot on the trail. Someone has written on this, and I just know it, just like I was just saying about the commentary. So I'm going to chase this down a little bit more, but the Lord begot me at the beginning of his way. The Lord begot me at the beginning of his creation, possessed me. Sure seems like we're still in the running. We're still in the ballpark of the triune God, right? Jesus was begot and always was with him. So the Spirit could be begot and always with him. We're not going to jump the gun on this. We're just going to keep studying, So I was rejoicing in his inhabited world, delighting in the human race. And the Spirit, like I always try to tell people, I make poor analogies sometimes, but it's like when you get saved, when you're regenerated, and when you come to Jesus and you're born again, it's almost like you get an over-the-air upgrade, okay? Because everybody's got a conscience. Everybody can look at the universe and ask the questions about God and kind of come to these understandings and these moral codes and stuff for themselves, and will be judged according to that until you hear the gospel, and then you got a choice, right? So if you reject the gospel, we're on one side, and if you accept the gospel, great, welcome to heaven. So there's kind of escalating standards, right? And when when you get saved, sorry I'm stumbling over this, I've had better explanations before. It's like you get this over the air upgrade, and instead of like the still small conscience in you, like the Jiminy Cricket, angel demon on your shoulder, the flesh in your inner, now you really do have like the spirit in your heart, guiding you and illuminating your way that we see in some of the other verses in Proverbs. So I can be wrong about this. There were more verses that I feel like support that, because it's like written on your heart, right? It guides your way. It's on your fingers. It's around your neck. It's like it's with you. The Spirit is with you, and I do believe the Spirit can interface with you before you're saved, but it's different when we talk about like Jesus coming to live in your heart. I think that scripturally we really mean like being that Jesus and the Spirit and God, the Father are all one. That is what we mean. The Spirit of Jesus, the Spirit of God comes into us, and we can hear it a little better. And the more we walk, and the more we study, and the more we pray, and the more we listen, the more clear it is, and the more often we can hear it or see it. Trying to teach your kids to have a prayer life is hard when you're working on your prayer life and you're trying to disciple your wife and the people in your family to also do that. Because I don't know what I'm doing. Do you know what you're doing? If you do, I'll pray for you, man. Pray for me. Today I heard, I think his screen name is Taj Jackson, but I think his first name is different. Talk about like the incense and the prayers of the saints, that's mentioned. And that this is also something I've tried to talk to people, and it's like they think I'm crazy. It takes a certain kind of person, certain set of experience or beliefs to appreciate this argument that just like we have a physical body that has material, the spiritual nature has material too. It's not the same, but the energies involved, and even prayers, prayers of the saints are like a physical substance going up with the smoke in the incense, in the censer, that God is burning incense in heaven, and it actually like goes up. So it's like physical is the wrong word, but it is some kind of spiritual material, just like angels have bodies, right? And things like that. So what we do here, to quote Gladiator, echoes in eternity. And prayer is more powerful than we think it is. So with that rant that I had some initial tie-in with, and now I feel really lost rounding it back out, go with God. And if you have a comment on this, if I'm on the right track, if you hate hearing me talk, if you like hearing me talk, I always started this out saying questions, comments, snide remarks. Well, I'd love to hear them if you got them. So with that, I'm going to finish driving up the street and go check on everybody, and then get back out to do some DoorDashing and Uber Eatsing and whatever else the Lord gets me into tonight. So I pray that He keeps me safe, and thank God that I don't make much money, but I make enough money to keep gas in the car for both of us, for her commute, for my work, for us to get from A to B in both cars. And like today, had to get an oil change. So between that and my smoothie and the breakfast with the guys, I didn't make much money. But you know what I did have? A lot of time in the car with myself, with my thoughts, with these verses, with people smarter than me. So surround yourself with people smarter than you, people closer to God than you. And that's it. Have a great weekend. Go to church tomorrow. Even if you sit in the back pew, even if you go Catholic church, mass, synagogue, go to a synagogue for the love of God. You know what I mean? Just like go be with other people who are trying to find wisdom and who want to be close to the Father and who want to know and follow Jesus. You don't have to talk to anybody. I'm giving you permission to go sit in the back and scowl. Some old churches used to have a smoking section. You feel me? Like that's what our churches should be look like. And I drove by like 8 churches today that said open and affirming with a flag. Okay, I understand the pride flag is symbolism to like use on a digital screen, but I don't think we should, because that's the devil appropriating a weapon of God and a covenant of God. But open, declaring that you're an open church, I think is correct. Okay? An affirming church, no, I don't. Okay? We should not be affirming this. You know what this is like? I'm just going to keep ranting because let's go. This is like when somebody is bulimic, right? A beautiful girl wearing her teeth out, eating whatever she wants, but it's odd, and you finally get to the root of the problem. Or starving themselves to death, and you get to the root of the problem, and they say, well, I'm fat. Do you tell that mentally distressed person, clearly you're fat? If you feel like you're fat, if your experience tells you you're fat, then sister, sweetheart, brother, if that's happening, guess what? You're fat. No, we don't do that with any other mental illness. Oh man, this arm's always tingly. It doesn't feel like mine. I feel dissociated. I want to cut my arm off. That's how I feel. We don't affirm that. Okay. So if you're offended I'm using mental illness as the comparison, that's fine. It's just the easiest thing that I've got to wrestle with here to make the illustration. However, if you're struggling with a sin, the church should not affirm that sin, okay? But should it be open to everybody? To everybody. Gay, trans, questioning, two-spirit-therian, whatever. It's supposed to be a sanctuary and a place of refuge. And I think for too long, too many people have the experience that they're not welcome in a church or it's not for them. And let's add to that no one's inviting people to church because you don't want to be weird. Right? That's weird. They won't think of you the same again. Even my grandmother is like, what do y'all do at house church? Well, Grand, we do exactly what you do on Sunday when you host everybody. We just also talk about the sermon and what God is doing in our lives and try to grapple with that and to encourage each other and to pray with each other. You know? And my best bud told me, oh, that sounds just like an AA meeting. Well, good. I'm going to start finding those people, inviting them to house church because we're not far away, right? Okay, rants over, and get in church. Just walk into church, man. That's it. Mike, my pastor's always talking about, like, your spirit may be stirred. Use your body. Use your body. I'm working on something right now, and I'm trying to figure out the modes of prayer for people, right? I like to walk. I like to drive, don't get me wrong, but I like to sit and be quiet, but I also like just to be in the woods and to go on a walk. And I am capable of being, I feel like, very prayerful out loud in some of these situations, whereas less with others. So, point is, move your body to back up what you're feeling. Go with God, be blessed.